Hello, everybody, and welcome to edition number 50 of the Food is a Conversation Alumni Edition. Today, we have a very special conversation for you guys because I'm actually going to be interviewing the creator of the series, Miss Júlia Dalmadi. Júlia is a fantastic young woman, and she's very, very nice to work with, and she's... One moment, I'm just trying to bring her in. She's great to work with because she's very nice, but also... So I'm just waiting to bring her in here now, and we can have a little chat with the mother of the Food is a Conversation Alumni Edition. There she is. Hey, Júlia.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you doing?
Excited.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thanks so much for creating the series and for being here now for edition number 50. So I'm sure the audience are familiar with you in a sense, but better to kind of break it down for them. So I might begin by asking just how exactly did you end up with Future Food first day? So I know you attended the Food Innovation Master Program in 2018. How did you hear about that? What was your connection, your experience?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And also, it was so fun to hear Miss Júlia Dalmadi. I'm not really called like this. But yeah, so about my story. I am originally from Hungary, and I moved to Berlin in 2012. And in 2017, it was 5 years in the city. At that moment, I was juggling a full-time job in software development and having my street food business. And well, let's be honest, I felt like I'm just so overwhelmed and I don't have enough time to think out of the box and actually improve the things I want to do. I felt like I needed to get out of Berlin and Brandenburg, that little bubble where I lived in. And so what I did, I just started to search for options to leave, but I felt it's not justifiable for me just to leave and travel. And that's how I found the Food Innovation Master Program, and including the global mission, it was like, all right, that's it. And I remember 2 weeks before I handed in my application, I even told someone I will never study again. And that was a very wrong statement from my side. So everything went really fast. I remember I went to FAO, which is a very important spot in Berlin, and I did my application video. I think I was even late with the application process. And I said, if I manage to get a scholarship and figure out my finances, then that's it. And in a couple of months, I moved to Reggio Emilia, Emilia-Romagna, Italy.
Wow, fantastic. And so after you graduated then from the master's program, you were an ambassador for Future Food in Germany, correct? Could you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, of course. So I went to Italy with being completely convinced I want to move back to Berlin afterwards because all in all, that's the place I want to grow old in. Well, this changed, this perception since then, but this is still the place where I am based normally. And when I returned, it was kind of obvious that the network, what we got access to through Future Food, I would like to represent it in the space and environment where I am based. And so slowly but surely, it was actually a very slow process at the beginning. And then I said, well, let's activate the alumni because we didn't really have any way to connect with the previous batches and so on. And then we also published this book series after the global mission called Food Shapers. And I felt like that book was, no one really knew about it. I wanted to make use of that content and knowledge what we had. So that was the first project I worked with Chavi on. Basically, we curated a workshop series around the topics what we cover in this book series, and it was taking place in September 2019 in Berlin, in a very important place in the Berlin food scene in Markthalle 9, and it was the first event I saw in the food space there, which was on purpose including consumers as well. So there was no requirement to be a foodie or work in the food industry to participate, because I wanted to create this multidisciplinary conversation and dialogue. So that was the first project we did together. And in the same time, I got a request from the organizers of Anuga, which is one of the biggest food fair, to curate one of the exhibition spaces and moderate one of the days about the Internet of Food. So that was also a joint project with Future Food. We did in October 2019 then. And slowly but surely, other opportunities came up, and Barilla decided to launch a learning kitchen roadshow in Germany. So it was given that as Future Food is the idea founder, or they curated this program together, then let's involve someone on the ground. So in November, December, I visited with actually another alumni, Farah, who was on the session last week. We traveled to 7 different cities in Germany and took over the kitchens of university students and showed them how cooking is not terrifying, and taught them how you can pair flavors and create your own recipes with following the principles of the Mediterranean diet. So these were my ambassador time activities with Future Food. So there are opportunities coming up after entering the ecosystem, and yeah, so that was actually 2019 after the graduation.
Well, would you consider that somewhat of a turning point in your career, just the new network and we'll say the kind of answering the question of what you wanted to do, perhaps?
Yes, it was a turning point I was looking for, so for sure, and also to show me a way of how I want to work in the future, because I come from an environment where you are taught you have to go to university and get a well-paid job and then buy a house and a car, and this is what should make you happy. So when I had my very first full-time job after graduating from hotel management, I worked for an airline. I was in revenue management, and I thought that will be the path I need to take. But very fast, I realized that I had to do the exact same things every day, had to go to the same office every day. And don't get me wrong, there are people who for who it's suitable and they like to live this way. But I had to realize after repetition that it was not necessarily about the specific job what I didn't want to do anymore, but it was the fact that I am maybe not suitable just to focus on one thing. And especially during the food innovation program, a whole world opened, and I just wanted to be part of everything. Now, this is also wrong at one point, because then you end up having so many different projects in the same time, and which one do you focus on? So for me, transformation started in 2018, I would say, and it's still going on. I think I'm figuring out my way, and it was a lot of learning and also self-improvement. I think it's, yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, it's crucial for everyone to go on that journey, I think. And so now it's led you to here, present day, and you are the director of the community programs and the boot camps with Future Food. So that's quite an achievement. That's very nice to start as a student and to climb the ranks, so to speak. So could you tell us a little bit more about your specific role and perhaps some of your future plans for the position?
Of course. So yeah, I think after the Barilla project, I kind of proved that I have badass organizational skills. So how I ended up in this specific role is that I was hired as the project manager for 2020 boot camps, and beginning of the year it meant 9 different locations all over the world, and having 1 week full-time learning programs. But then we all know what happened, and there are always unforeseen circumstances what you need to face, and for that reason I'm very happy to work in a team which is pretty agile and is looking for opportunities, and very fast we did pivot to the digital bootcamp, and well, that was the first time for all of us, and I'm proud to say that I think it turned out as a successful program, especially seeing now all the participants being still engaged. And so that was the point how I identified this role, that I really would like to take care of this growing community, because by now we are approaching, with the currently running bootcamp, 200 alumni of any of the educational programs of Future Food. And that's a global network of people who have a same drive to be food and climate shapers. And just imagine if they stay connected and they are involved in same projects and they know each other, how this collective power can actually achieve those goals, what we have, let's name them sustainability development goals. So what I see as my role is, obviously my main focus is on the boot camps at the moment. But since July, we could actually validate that we do, during this process, we already identify people who want to join and work with us, like you do, or Gian and Lauren, who are now working together for the bootcamp. And also we had Anastasia, who was interviewed this Tuesday, who then joined one of our research projects. So this network also becomes a pool for Future Food, for upcoming projects to tap into. And if our partners or whoever else in our network is looking for some kind of an expertise, we do have this pool to activate. So what are my future plans? Well, we will run more digital bootcamps because this will become the stable program of Future Food. So the next one will be in March. And with that, we will grow the community, and hopefully in 2021, we will also be at the platform where this connection will not only be through email and through the current platform what we gave you for the bootcamp, and not only through a calendar, but we will have a community management platform where all of these food and climate shapers can connect with each other, can share content and events and everything with each other. So yeah, I think that would be my long-term vision.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I really like how you've kind of molded it into a way that once you enter the Future Food ecosystem as a student or whatever it may be, you never quite leave the family, let's call it. Yeah, that's a really nice way to do it. And so then, departing from Future Food for just a moment, because I know you're involved in a couple of other projects as well. I'm not quite sure how you do it, but could you tell us a bit about what you're doing? You've got an operation in Berlin and Hungary, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So as I mentioned, with the transformation and being exposed to so many fascinating and inspiring projects, plus also finding my way, how not to go back to that 9-to-5 office job and be always involved and learn along the way. I have been joining and maybe also leaving some of the projects since I returned to Berlin, but there is one which sticked, and I'm very proud to be one of the oldest member of Superco Berlin, which is a cooperative supermarket. Now, this is not a unique model; it already exists. What is unique, especially in Berlin, that it is a member-only supermarket. So the members are the owners of the supermarket. They also work there once a month, 3 hours, and they are the ones who can go and shop there. Now, we do not yet have a physical space. We are still in the making, but in June this year, we finally started with our minimum viable product, which was a buyer club, where our continuously growing member base every week could shop from a selected and limited amount of food offer, and now we are thinking about how to make this not only a pickup location but also eventually deliver to other parts of Berlin to make it more accessible while we wait for the perfect location to come along our way and open our supermarket. So that's one of the projects in Berlin. And the other one is Transfood Mission, which will be the overarching brand of a circular economy project in Hungary and in Central and Eastern Europe, hopefully. It was an epiphany, actually, when I came back to Hungary in last year. Christmas time. I was walking with my dad, and there is this abandoned building, what I can see from my balcony, oh, I'm getting a bit emotional about this. So yeah, so there is this abandoned building, and we have so many dormant resources around us, but we see, or they are visible, but we don't see them. So this building stands there 22 years empty. And I was walking with my dad, and I said, it's such a shame because we could have done so many things with this space, and actually that would give life to my hometown. You should know Komárom is a 20,000 people town, very industrialized. After Nokia moved away his factory, a lot of the unemployment raised. So it's not necessarily a sexy place to be. But then I started to ideate, and then I was like, all right, so if I could take over this building, I could build a food innovation hub, and I could have a food waste factory, and the whole place is like 3 hectares, and 2/3 of it could be turned into a food forest. And my kindergarten and also my primary school is right next to it, so we could actually involve agriculture and food into their education. So I had this brilliant idea, right? And I get really enthusiastic about topics. So I even contacted the owner of the building to get the price and everything. Yeah. So that's how the journey started. Now it has evolved. This year, I kind of woke up from this dream, and I realized, okay, so it won't really start this way, that I can just take over a building and renovate. But it's still my long-term vision with the project. But basically what we kept is that we would like to launch a project called Ételmentő, which is food savory in Hungarian, which will be a new brand on the supermarket shelves. We will create new consumer goods from food industry byproducts. And the very first product we will hopefully launch this year is based on brewery stand grain. It will be a granola. And so that will be our go-to-market strategy, basically. And we will start parallelly an educational campaign because here in Hungary and in this region, there is still lower literacy about these issues in our food system, which is not a problem. I feel like I can just have a bigger impact if I come here and utilize my my skills and network here. So recently we got in touch with the university, and we hopefully can start running all the biological tests and maybe even fortify our product with certain vitamins to specialize for a target audience of pregnant women and children. And that will be the first step. And then hopefully the product portfolio will grow along the years. And then eventually we will have enough leverage to get that building or another building, what we can turn into that innovation hub. And so here I also would like to highlight the power of network. And there are other networks, not only Future Food. I think it's important to stay active and nurture connections, because what we did this year, January, we applied for the first competition with the original idea. Well, we didn't get into the final, but that was kind of to be expected. It was a learning process. We created the first video, the first pitch deck, and then afterwards we kept applying, and by getting feedback, we already iterated our idea. So this is how we ended up on the EIT Food Innovation Prize Hungarian final in July. And I'm very thankful for that opportunity, because we had a training how to build our pitch, how to think through the target audience of our product. So we got very good input. And then we also got feedback from the jury members. And yes, maybe we didn't make it through to the European final, but the reason for that, because that was not the right competition. Our idea is not groundbreaking and extremely unique, because such solutions already exist in other countries. But it doesn't exist in this area. And if I find the right partner or investor or organization who can help us with this, and in this case it was Camden BRI, who offered us that we can use their lab, and then they invited us to speak on their open day approximately a month ago. And that was our very first Hungarian presentation as well. And then we got approached by the university. So you never know how this goes. And obviously, if you have financial means, it's maybe a bit faster than in our case. Well, we do lack the financial means to kick the project off. So this is also a call out for investors. I'm very happy to distribute our pitch or talk more in detail about the project. But yeah, so that's also one of the things I would like to stay busy with next year. Yeah.
Well, Julia, you seem to be creating quite a unique sort of equation, you know, like for, well, I don't know what the end result will be, but I mean, you've got a lot of varying factors in here. I think I think you're on the right track, and I love the idea of renovating, you know, like an old building that's now abandoned, because they're everywhere. And you talk about dormant resources. I mean, that's a perfect example, really. So a model like that, if it could be dispersed among Hungary or elsewhere, would be amazing. So that's cool. Thank you. And then just before I jump to the final question, actually, if I may just think, was it another sort of an epiphany moment of yours to have this series right here, the alumni edition, just to kind of keep alive the, you know, the chats and to make sure everyone was still connected? Or when did you start this series, if I may ask?
Yeah. Well, I have to say it's thanks to COVID, I think, because the idea was born when the very first lockdown happened, when the first wave of digital events started to happen. And I feel at that moment that it was just one of thousands. But if I look back now, so many of those stopped existing. And I just found such a great value in this because I believe that we all have very great stories, but others should hear, because I learned so much from the stories of my fellows, of the people who I got to know along the years. So I think it's just great because first, the people who can speak on these sessions, they feel appreciated, and they also feel that their story is important. And then it also gives us a platform where we can showcase these amazing people and their food and climate shaper actions all over the world. And I'm very proud to say that now we also launched a separate channel or like a page on Instagram, Future Food Alumni, where we have all these stories featured so everyone can go back. It will become basically a database of all these amazing and inspiring people.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, because every alumni that I've come into contact with anyway, I've learned something off of all of them, you know. And like you talk about the kind of, you know, thinking about maybe what led you to your epiphany would have been a combination of huge factors in life experiences, etc. And it's important to know them, but you can also learn a lot from other people's experiences as well, you know, which is so it's nice to give that platform. And jumping on to the final question here, Julia. So thinking about your ideal food future, what does it look like for you? And can you just jump into that a little bit, please?
Yes, I came up with this question. It's not as easy as I thought.
But it's a good question, though, because it's very important to kind of think about, you know? Yeah.
So learning from the past years and as we said, learning from others and different but yet same food issues all over the world. I think access is a very important key word. Access to nutrition, access to affordable food, access to healthy diet, and access to knowledge. And I think that kind of summarizes also what I want to achieve with whatever project I'm involved in, because with Supercoop, we also want to be transparent and provide nutritious food and sustainable food to our members, so that their food decision making is not as difficult as it is today, because you enter a supermarket and you are in this endless sea of products, and it would take you double as much time to actually pick and compare and read and figure out what you want to eat. So I want this access to knowledge to be available for everyone, disregarding their geographical location, their economic background, anything. So everyone should just have access to food and information.
Yeah, it's a very ambitious kind of thought, like, and to get it globally speaking, I mean, how do you think you could kind of even try and go about that? I mean, I suppose starting like in smaller areas and then branching out, like, or, you know, I don't know. It's because it's a difficult one for sure, like, to be adopted globally, and with all the abundance that's available now, there's a somewhat like paradox of of choice in that there's just so much available. People will just go for the most convenient option usually, because they're almost immobilized by so much choice, you know. So spreading something like a kind of a philosophy like this widespread, do you think perhaps even the alumni and stuff could be like a big part of this mission in order to spread out? Or?
Definitely. So convenience is very important. So why not make these choices convenient? And yes, I do see there are already so many initiatives globally who are working towards the same goal. So joining forces, I think, is very important. And eventually, I obviously try to improve the boot camps as well, every one batch of a time. And if I think about it, I keep talking about how inclusive this program is, because you can come with different disciplines from different countries, age, everything. Yet we still only are able to do it in English. And I do know that this makes the program exclusive, because only people who speak this language can attend. Now, my next, maybe not so short term, but you know, in the foreseeable future step would be using and utilizing those alumni in certain location and localize our content and make sure that we can actually start teaching, so that language also is not a barrier anymore. So maybe that could be the first step.
Totally. Yeah. And so speaking again just about the food future for a moment, I mean, like, it seems like do you think that it would be possible to sort of, I don't know, redirect some of the food that's unnecessarily being imported into places that don't need it, and redistribute this food or something like that? Or, you know, how do you get like the access? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because of course it varies greatly depending on your geographical location. So I don't know if you've given that much thought, or because it's a tricky one, right?
Yeah, it's a very complex question. And yes, Gaston, we can discuss the localized Brazilian version of the bootcamp. But going back to your question, Jeff, so import export, I think this is a very hot conversation. A lot of things are debatable. We have to accept one thing. There are countries whose economy is actually reliant on exporting goods. Now, the problem is with all the intensified, and that's my perspective here, I would like to highlight. So we have problems when we intensify agriculture, intensify processes, and then this is going over a certain scale. And then in the country, you don't actually leave the right quality of food, because that goes to export, and you leave the not so much and not so nutritious versions of it in your own country. And because we will always have countries who have the climate and have the capacity and soil and everything, but we'll be able to grow more than other places can. So if I look at Iceland, for example, Iceland have very limited resources to grow everything what they would like to consume. So yes, let them import some of the ingredients. It's just the balance. I think this is what is missing in our food system globally. But if we look at New Zealand, they have so much resources and growing capacity. Of course, it's an unfortunate situation that they are so far away, because that will include food miles, which is a problem, we know. But then find the right balance, how to do this, and use the resources what you have available to first locally feed everyone, and then start expanding these circles.
Yeah. A complex problem like this probably requires a complex equation in order to solve it. So you seem to be on that track anyway, so you might be the woman to do it. And with that, Julia, I think I'll cut it here, because we're just about to go over the time. I would just say thanks very much. Thanks for creating this, and thanks for bringing us here to edition number 50. And I would say to the audience that the edition number 51 will be on Tuesday morning, and that is the... No. Oh,
sorry, I need to correct. We didn't align on this before. So we will actually take a break now. It's a perfect moment with the 50th session to take a Christmas break. And session 51 will follow in January. And I can guarantee you we will feature someone from the currently running digital bootcamp.
Yeah, for sure. So in that case, then I would like to wish the audience a very, very happy Christmas. What a perfect interview to finish on, I guess. So a happy Christmas and a happy New Year to everybody. And thanks again, Julia. And yeah, I'll see you soon.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Julia.